Welcome back to International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard. At the Gold Star Standard, reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the record saying the dollars. And hey, y'all see the time they handing out.
Game over.
Take heed. Coercion. We talk about this a lot. Force, fraud, coercion. These are the elements needed to find you guilty in human trafficking. We're going to focus on the element of coercion today. Let's get straight off into this. Federal coercion laws prohibit compelling someone to act against their will through threats, intimidation, or manipulation. These laws vary depending on the specific context, such as political activity, fair housing, sex trafficking, or family and medical leave. Common themes include preventing interference with rights, prohibiting coercion in political participation, and addressing coercion related to sexual activity. Y'all follow along with this. We're going to spend some time breaking this down and get straight off into this story. Sex trafficking, coercion, or enticement to engage in prostitution or other criminal sexual activity, especially involving minors, is a serious federal offense. Hope y'all paying attention to this. Coercion when dealing with sex trafficking is enticing someone to engage in prostitution. Y'all paying attention to this, right? I'm gonna say that again. Sex trafficking, the element of coercion, is enticement. Enticement to engage in prostitution or other criminal sexual activities. So they say you enticed her. You told her the good things that can come out of this by having criminal sexual activities for money. I hope y'all paying attention to this, and I hope you're taking heed. Everything is not for everybody. You need to make the decision to see if it's for you. If not, find something legal to do. Let's continue. Examples of federal coercion laws. 18 USC, subsection 2422, coercion and enticement. This law prohibits knowingly persuading, inducing, enticing, or coercing someone to travel across state or foreign lines for the purpose of engaging in prostitution or other criminal sexual activity. This is the federal law, 18 USC, subsection 2422, dealing with coercion and enticement. And I hope you're paying attention. This is it right here. Right here. This is it. Pay attention. Let's continue. Federal law prohibits coercion and enticement in the context of sex trafficking. The varying penalties based on the victim's age and the specific circumstances. Violation of 18 USC 2422A, which involves enticing or coercing any individual into illegal sexual activity, can result in fines up to 20 years imprisonment if the victim is under 18 the penalties increase to a minimum of 10 years imprisonment, potentially up to life. So what this is saying, if you enticed or coerced someone under the age of 18, you can potentially get life in prison. Now the story we dealing with here, I know it's going to take a second to get to it because I want to make sure you get a clear picture of these laws, a clear picture of what enticement is and coercion is. This is something that you don't want to get caught up in. Force, fraud, coercion are the elements needed to find you guilty in a human trafficking case. Coercion is probably one of the easiest elements for them to get you on if this is what they're coming after you with. So pay attention and take heed. Okay, let's get into some key points. 18 USC 2422A. Coercing or enticing any individual into prostitution or other legal sex acts is a federal crime. One more time. 18 USC 2422A. Coercing or enticing any individual into prostitution or other illegal sexual acts is a federal crime. You heard that? Coercing and or enticing is a federal crime. Pay attention. Take heed. 18 USC 2422B. Coercing or enticing a minor into such an act carries a harsher penalty. And that harsher penalty that it carries, ladies and gentlemen, is you can receive up to life in prison. Wow. If you get caught up in this. That's 18 USC 2422B in federal law. If you're doing what you're doing out there, you better know what you're doing. And that's a fact. Let's continue. Here's some of the penalties which you already know. Violations can result in significant fines and imprisonment, potentially ranging from 10 years to life in prison, particularly for offenses involving minors. Dealing with minors is a major problem out here, and that's why these laws are the laws that they are now. They have changed a lot, especially when it comes to sex trafficking and or human trafficking involving minors. Do not do it. Leave those children alone. Leave them alone. Leave the kids alone. Here we go. Specific penalties. 18 USC 2422A. Adult victims. Now check this out. 18 USC 2422A is dealing with adult victims. Fines and imprisonment up to 20 years. And the difference between 18 USC 2422A and adult USC 2422B is one is a victim is an adult, and the other, the victim is a minor. And if the victim is a minor, the mandatory minimum is 10 years in prison, potentially a life sentence. So don't do it at all. Okay, here we go. William Galbreath, sentenced to 21 years in prison for human trafficking. Today in Denver District Court, William Galbreath was sentenced to 21 years in the Department of Corrections for his crimes. Mr. Galbreath pleaded guilty to human trafficking of sexual servitude of an adult.
What?
For 3 victims. He will serve 3 years on parole upon his release and register as a sex offender. This is part of the crimes involving sex offenses and or human trafficking / trafficking in the state of Colorado. You will have to register as a sex offender. Okay, here we go. Originally charged with COCCA, and we'll get into what that is. Human trafficking, pimping, money laundering, criminal impersonation, tax charges, and violation of the protection order. These were the original charges. Now this COCCA is like a RICO. It's like a state RICO in Colorado and Denver, but the state of Colorado to be exact. Let's bring this up. Okay, here we go. Check this out. In Colorado, a COCCA charge, which stands for the Colorado Organized Criminal Control Act, is a serious offense related to racketeering and organized crime. It involves participating in a criminal enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. If convicted, individuals can face severe penalties, including lengthy prison sentences, substantial fines, and asset forfeiture. So they can take your stuff. This is a RICO, similar to the P. Diddy case. If y'all paying attention, a lot of people say, how can he get caught up in a one-man RICO? Just like this. Just like they got the state charge, which is similar to a one-man RICO in the state of Colorado, the COCCA. Okay, let's continue. And on a little side note, we love Denver, Colorado. We're gonna just have to shout y'all out. The people, the places, and the things going on in and around Denver, Colorado. Let's continue with this. Here's a news story on this. Here we go.
You are about to meet a sex trafficking survivor from right here in Denver. And how easily it happened to her is just as troubling as what happened to her. Now, January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and tonight, Denver 7's Colette Bordelon with the chilling story of the trafficking happening all around us in plain sight.
I would like to close the chapter and write a new book.
In the dark corners of Denver.
It's such a manipulation that is not spoken about enough, I think.
A certain kind of crime is hiding in plain sight.
You don't get kidnapped off the street. You meet a stranger who you think is interested in you, who loves you, and it turns into a very dark story, unfortunately.
We're speaking with a survivor of sex trafficking, choosing to use the alias Jade.
I had specific ways and how I was supposed to dress and look and talk.
She's one of a handful of survivors connected to William Galbreath.
This individual was trafficking multiple other victims while he was on probation.
This is Ashley Morgan, the director of the Human Trafficking Unit within the Denver DA's office.
He pleaded guilty to human trafficking and agreed to 21 years in the Department of Corrections. His sentencing will be happening in the next couple of months. We have seen an increase in the cases filed over the time that our unit has been created, and I think that's largely attributed to having focused teams.
Morgan says labor or sex trafficking happens when someone is coerced into that situation.
That can mean threatening them, as in I'm going to kill you or hurt you if you don't do this, up to I will withhold drugs from you.
One of many.
Y'all heard that? The different elements and ways that they can say that you coerce someone. Coercion out of the elements that they use to find you guilty of human trafficking: force, fraud, coercion, violence and or the threats of violence, that coercion is a mean thing. Y'all pay attention to this now. Let's go.
Is filed over the time that our unit has been created. And I think that's largely attributed to having focused teams.
Morgan says labor or sex trafficking happens when someone is coerced into that situation.
That can mean threatening them, as in I'm going to kill you or hurt you if you don't do this, up to I will withhold drugs from you.
One of many challenges with such a crime is understanding how frequently it happens.
Because of Denver's location and the transportation corridors we have here, it's very easy to get into DIA and move across the state.
Morgan says labor trafficking happens in several different industries like hotels and restaurants. And a lot of the times, recruiting for sex trafficking starts on social media.
There is a lot of psychological manipulation that goes on in the human trafficking world.
John Walsh is the new district attorney in Denver, who says their human trafficking unit is the largest of its kind in the state.
It's the kind of thing that we need to continue to devote resources to move forward to combat what is really a scourge on the most vulnerable people in our society.
Jade says that unit came through for her.
I feel like I was silenced for so long, and I didn't really get the chance to speak my truth and heal from that and see the justice from it.
Saying it's time to close this chapter.
There's people out there that will listen to you. There's people out there that will help you.
And finally, write her own story. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
And if you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking.
Okay. And here's part 2 of that. As you can see, they said he took a plea to 21 years. And here's an update on the sentences. He was sentenced not too long ago. Pay attention, take heed. Let's go.
Your mind. New at 6, sentencing today for a sex trafficker. William Galbreath, sentenced in Denver to 21 years in prison, part of a plea deal. His crimes stem back to 2020 when he pleaded guilty to pimping. Now, he was sentenced to 4 years probation, but then while on probation, he trafficked other victims. He was charged by the Denver District Attorney's Office in 2023 and pleaded guilty to human trafficking. Denver 7 talked to one of his victims earlier this year who was caught in this cycle of coercion.
I feel like I was silenced for so
I want y'all to pay attention. I'm going to take this from the top. They said he was sentenced to probation on an earlier charge, a similar charge. And while on probation for that charge, he caught another charge dealing with sex trafficking. And that's how they got him with the Colorado RICO. Right there. That's how they got him with it. A continual criminal enterprise. Saying that he was involved in something similar within 10 years. I want y'all to start looking into these laws. Start looking into these federal laws and the subsections of these federal laws. I got to pay attention to what's going on out here. Use your head for something more than a hat rack. This is serious business. Let's go.
Sentencing today for a sex trafficker. William Galbreath, sentenced in Denver to 21 years in prison, part of a plea deal. His crimes stem back to 2020 when he pleaded guilty to pimping. Now, he was sentenced to 4 years probation, but then while on probation, he trafficked other victims. He was charged by the Denver District Attorney's Office in 2023 and pleaded guilty to human trafficking. Denver 7 talked to one of his victims earlier this year who was caught in this cycle of coercion.
I feel like I was silenced for so long, and I didn't really get the chance to speak my truth and heal from that and see the justice from it. There's people out there that will listen to you. There's people out there that will help you.
The DA's office says its human trafficking unit is the largest of its kind in Colorado.
Going in depth, a law was signed last spring to crack down on human traffickers in Colorado. It increases the amount of time human trafficking survivors have to report a crime from 3 years to 20. It also classifies human trafficking as a crime of violence, which could enhance penalties. The law also protects survivors from being
They said human trafficking in Colorado has been deemed a crime of violence. So that's automatically a strike if you get charged with the human trafficking in Colorado. Force, fraud, coercion, violence, and or the threats of violence. They saying it's already violent. You catch the charge, the violence is there. That's what they saying in Colorado. Take heed, pay attention, and don't throw your life away. We keep bringing you the stories time and time again. Don't throw your life away. Let's go, man.
Human trafficking survivors have to report a crime from 3 years to 20. It also classifies human trafficking as a crime of violence, which could enhance penalties. The law also protects survivors from being charged with human trafficking crimes if they were coerced into it.
International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the record saying the dollars. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And pay attention. Y'all really need to pay attention out there to what's going on. You don't want to get caught up in this. Human trafficking / sex trafficking. You don't want to get caught up in this. Coercion. They're not playing no games. They're throwing a book at these guys out here. 20 years here, 30 years here, 40 years here, up to life in prison. And we will see you on the next one.